Hello, my little one. Tonight we'll listen to a very special story. This story isn't about princesses or superheroes, but about clothes living in a cozy little attic. Can you believe it? When people aren't looking, coats, fabrics, needles, and threads can actually talk to each other. Among them is an old winter coat, worn through many cold seasons, and a brand new piece of shiny linen, fresh and bright. Each has its own dreams, joys, and worries. Now close your eyes, imagine stepping into that warm attic, and let the story begin. In a quiet little town, up in the attic of an old wooden house, there was a tiny room where a tailor lived and worked. Every morning, sunlight peeked through a small window, shining across colourful spools of thread, over scraps of cloth in all shapes, and onto clothes that had lived through many seasons of wind and rain. But there was something magical that not everyone knew. When people left the room, the attic came alive. Scissors chuckled whenever they snipped a funny piece of cloth. The sewing needle liked to hum softly, its tune light and cheerful like a little bird. Even the buttons whispered stories to each other about their days dancing on the front of the little boy's white shirt. In one corner, hanging on an old wooden rack, was an old winter coat. It had once kept its owner warm through many cold winters, shielding him from icy winds and falling snow. But now it was wrinkled, stained with mud, and no longer looked as proud as it once did. Still, deep in its heart, the coat held memories of happy times, when it wrapped around its owner's shoulders and travelled everywhere with him. Not far away, lying neatly on the tailor's work table, was a brand new piece of linen fabric, smooth and shining, with delicate patterns woven in. It looked almost dazzling. The linen was confident, sometimes even a little arrogant. It believed that soon it would be transformed into the most splendid coat in town, admired and praised by everyone. The world of clothes in that little attic was like a tiny village. Each item had its own voice, each had its own dream, but not all dreams were the same. And that difference was about to begin a very special story between the old coat and the new piece of linen. The afternoon sunlight streamed into the little attic. Threads sparkled like strands of gold, and the piece of linen shone as if it were a star. "Oh, how beautiful it looks," cried the shiny scissors. "This linen will surely become the most splendid garment the tailor has ever made," added the humming needle, her voice lilting like a song. Hearing these words, the linen swelled with pride. "Yes, very soon I'll be transformed into a grand coat," it declared. "Perhaps I'll be worn to fancy parties or taken to the theatre. Everyone will admire me with amazement." The colourful spools of thread whispered excitedly to one another, nodding in agreement, caught up in the dream. But in the corner, the old coat heard it all. It sighed softly, its voice low and thoughtful. "Beauty is nice, but it isn't the most important thing." The linen spun around, its fibres quivering like a frown. "What did you just say, old coat?" "I mean," the coat said gently, "a garment is not only for showing off. It must keep its owner warm, protect them, and walk with them through storms. The shine of the outside will fade, but the love it carries will last." The linen burst into laughter. "Ha, listen to you, a wrinkled, filthy coat, nothing more than a rag, and you dare to lecture me? Look at yourself. Who would ever want to wear something so pitiful?" The old coat was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke quietly. "You don't understand yet. One day you'll see that true worth isn't in how loudly you are praised, but in how faithfully you serve the one who wears you. But the linen had already turned away, ignoring the words. It was too busy imagining its dazzling future. The music in the ballroom, the bright lights and itself, shining gloriously in the crowd. In the little attic, the spools of thread, the scissors and the needle glanced at one another. None dared to interrupt. They all knew this was only the beginning of a much longer story. On a chilly morning, the tailor climbed up into the attic. His eyes wandered until they stopped at the old coat. The coat trembled with fear. Maybe today is the day I'll be thrown away, it thought. But the tailor didn't throw it away. Instead, he folded the coat carefully and placed it into a large bag. From the work table, the linen watched and laughed. "Ha! See, at last, he's headed straight to the trash." The old coat was taken away, leaving the attic strangely quiet. The spools of thread and the scissors exchanged worried looks. The sewing needle let out a soft sigh, like a sad song. Meanwhile, the coat's journey began. It was carried to a laundry shop. Stiff brushes scrubbed it roughly, while cold, soapy water rushed through its fabric. Every stroke felt like a sharp sting. At times, the coat wanted to cry out, but it endured silently. Then came the beating, hard strikes to shake out the dirt. Each blow felt like thunder, painful yet freeing. With every strike, the coat grew lighter. Finally, when it was hung under the sun to dry, the old coat realized it was clean, brighter, and somehow renewed. Its heart swelled with a fresh sense of life. Back in the attic, the linen grew prouder each day. The tailor spread it across the table and cut it into pieces for a brand new coat. Each stitch from the needle tickled, and the linen shivered with delight. "At last, my dream is coming true," it whispered to itself. When it was finished, the linen coat was hung proudly on display. It gleamed in the light, soft and elegant. The linen imagined crowds of people admiring it, and it smiled in pride. But the joy didn't last. Winter came, and the owner slipped on a thick leather coat over it for warmth. The linen was trapped underneath, unseen by anyone. No lights, no admiring eyes. Only darkness and the heavy smell of leather pressing down. For the very first time, the linen felt a strange disappointment. It wondered, maybe I was wrong. Maybe being a beautiful coat isn't everything after all. And so, in that little attic where dreams had begun, the story of two coats was slowly taking two very different paths. Winter dragged on. Every day the linen was hidden under the heavy leather coat. No one noticed it. No one admired it. The dreams of shining faded away. One evening, the owner opened the wardrobe and pulled out a familiar coat. The linen froze. It was the old coat. Now it was clean and neat, still worn but warm and cherished. The owner smiled as he put it on, like greeting an old friend. The linen whispered, You're still here?" The coat answered gently, "Yes. The owner took me to be cleaned. It was painful, but it made me fresh again, and I'm still loved." It spoke briefly of stiff brushes, cold water, the rough washing, yet how it felt lighter afterward. The linen stayed quiet, uneasy. It had become a beautiful coat, but hidden under leather, no one praised it. The old coat said softly, "We don't always need the spotlight. What matters is staying close to our owner, keeping him warm." The linen lowered its head. For the first time, it felt that true worth might lie beyond appearance. A small seed of change began to grow inside it. One morning, the owner opened the wardrobe and picked the new linen coat. Linen felt thrilled, certain it would finally shine in the spotlight. It imagined glittering lights, music, and admiration, but instead the owner folded it carefully, placed it in a large cloth bag, and carried it away. "Where are we going? Isn't this a party?" Linen wondered. Soon they arrived at a house filled with the smell of soap and steam. Big tubs bubbled with water, stiff brushes hung on the walls, and machines rumbled loudly. Linen froze. "Oh no, this is a laundry!" A hand lifted it and dropped it into icy cold water. The liquid soaked into its threads, heavy and uncomfortable. Linen panicked. "Help! I'll be ruined!" But no one listened. Brushes began scrubbing hard, pulling at its fibers. Linen cried out in its heart. "It hurts! Why are they treating me this way? I'm still new." Fear took over. Linen thought it would never survive the rough washing. Then in the middle of despair, it remembered the old coat's words. "Painful, but necessary. It made me clean again, and loved." Linen imagined taking a deep breath. It whispered to itself, "If the old coat endured, I can too. I must be strong." The machine spun wildly, but this time Linen didn't fight. It let the water carry away the dirt. Each brush stroke, though painful, made it feel lighter, fresher. After a while, the pain softened, replaced by a strange new feeling, purity. Linen felt its fabric shine, airy and clean. Hung under the sun, it shivered happily, droplets sparkling like crystals. For the first time, it thought with pride, "Struggles can make me stronger and even more beautiful." That afternoon, the owner returned and put it on. He smiled with satisfaction, fresh and clean. Linen heard it, and its heart filled with joy. But this joy was different. It wasn't about praise for appearance. It was about learning something important. To be lasting and precious, one must sometimes endure hardship. Softly, Linen whispered, "Now I understand. I don't just need to be beautiful. I must also be strong and patient." In the warm attic, the new coat had truly grown up. Time passed. Winter faded and spring arrived. In the small attic, 2 coats, one old, one new, rested side by side in the wardrobe. The owner wore both coats for different occasions. On cold, windy days, he reached for the old coat, sturdy and warm. On bright mornings, he chose the new linen coat, fresh and neat. Each time they were worn, both coats felt happy. The linen no longer dreamed of glittering lights. After its washing, it understood that beauty fades without strength and patience. It stopped mocking the old coat. Instead, it listened to the old coat's stories and learned from its experience. One evening, as the breeze drifted through the window, the linen whispered, "Thank you. Because of you, I learned that being beautiful isn't enough." The old coat smiled warmly. We all have our own value. What matters is to endure and to be true. From then on, the attic was no longer filled with quarrels, but with respect and friendship. And so the tale ends with a gentle lesson. True worth doesn't come from a shining surface, but from perseverance, patience, and the kindness within. And so the story of the old coat and the linen comes to an end, my dear. Now they both know that true worth isn't just about looking shiny, but about patience, kindness, and friendship. Just like you, every day you grow, you'll find new things. Some will be fun, some a little hard, but all of them will make you stronger and more wonderful. Now close your eyes, hold on to your sweetest dreams, and let sleep carry you to a magical land. Good night, my love. May your dreams be sweet, and tomorrow you'll wake up as the bravest, happiest little one.